full of stars. Poetically speaking, our minds are full of stars. The stars represent things that hold some kind of a meaning for us. Unique curiosities that we each have are just that kind of thing, a star. There will be some gravity around it, and we will be gently pulled towards it. Neat examples of curiosities are computers, real mathematics, 3D modeling, music composition, and sculpture. From time to time, stars will connect, creating a greater constellation of knowledge and art. The connections are never feeble. They are thick with ideas, lessons, and thought. One time, I was looking over dubstep, which is very difficult to dance to, and I saw Skrillex using a grid of buttons to control his music. And while I misunderstood what he was doing, I did understand how music can be made with a grid of on-off switches by remembering how player pianos used paper with holes to make music. I created a small test program that I named Cylinder, and it sure made some noise. The device that Skrillex was using is called a launch pad, and what it does is play music clips that are perfectly synchronized together. It's nothing special. It is probably just a customized computer keyboard designed for the software that Skrillex is using. You can see a software version on the front page of Learning Music tutorial at Ableton. But what I grasped in that moment was a different device. It is called a beat sequencer. Visit Music Lab on Chrome Experiments and click on Songmaker to see it in action. I downloaded LMMS and started poking at the bassline editor, and I continue making silly songs. I made one just a couple of days ago. There are no rules, you just make noise. I started with a music star, a curiosity about music composition. And for a long time, it just sat there, twinkling, until I wanted to see why everyone hated dubstep. And then I noticed that clip launchpad. I made a connection from curiosity about music composition to how a piece of software could function like a player piano, and later I started using LMMS to make full songs. This connection connects two of my stars, curiosity about music and interest in computers. Another connection I made started with me looking at a program called Blender, which promised to teach me 3D modeling with a donut tutorial. Once I saw how easy it was, I started modeling 3D objects for 3D printing, mastering that in the process. I began learning about jewelry making, which is not even very difficult, but then I discovered I can make screws that work like the real thing. I became completely enchanted by the ability to make extremely complex things with the use of screws, and I had to stop and think about something else, which became vector mathematics and train hopping for some strange reason. These two will eventually connect to something else, I'm sure of it. Anyhow, the two stars connecting together right here in my constellation of 3D art is 3D printing and 3D modeling. I think this is one of my most beautiful connections, as it allows me to create real-world objects straight from my imagination. But not everything requires computers, though computers are like a microscope that helps you get into things. If programming is one of your stars, perhaps it is time to slowly go over a JavaScript video tutorial. Outside of computers, I connected projectors to canvas, which allowed me to stop worrying about proportions and just focus on color. While painting is probably my favorite thing, I also like sculpting with air-dry clay. I understood a bit about sculpture by visiting Auguste Rodin's exhibit at the DIA. It is hard to describe it correctly, but to show a delicate touch, you sculpt a lady's hand arched back. To show hard-working hands, you make them bigger, thicker, powerful. Whatever the constellation, there are always plenty of stars. So as long as they are your own, you can't go wrong. Be mindful and cautious when schools or parents push you into careers with dark skies. But if you ever find yourself lost, take to the trails. Grand trails like the Appalachian Trail of the East or the Pacific Crest Trail of the West. They will help you find your way back under the starry sky.